John Sarno is president of the Employers Association of New Jersey. Good to see you, John.
Good to see you, Steve.
You said to me, right before we got on the air, that we need to deal with the fact that we have a potential looming healthcare crisis in the state of New Jersey. Please describe it. Well, that scared me.
I didn't mean to, but
that's important.
I think it's more than potential. I think it's quite tangible. I think that we are seeing for better or for worse, the unraveling of the Affordable Care Act. I know that the first attempt was stalled, but there's more to come. And
why do you say that? Why do you say it's more? By the way, real quick, tell folks what the organization is, and I'll come right back to this.
Well, EANJ has several thousand employer members, and we're dedicated to helping good employers be better.
Okay, so some might say, hey, wait a minute, come on. The Trump administration, together with House Speaker Paul Ryan, tried it, didn't work. We're on to something else, you say.
Well, we have the markets to think about. I mean, I think what we saw was essentially and this is not a pejorative, but it was a major political event. It wasn't necessarily financial or economic, and we saw that play out. The real action in terms of delivery, service delivery, pricing, healthcare for the greatest number of people, really is the market. And so that's all regulatory, and that is.
You mean the exchange?
Yeah, the exchange. We have
the healthcare exchange. Explain to folks. I know, and we've talked about it forever. You would think people go, "Oh, I know what it is." Explain it.
Well, the healthcare exchange is basically a place where individuals and employers too, but mostly individuals, buy their healthcare.
Right.
So we have a mandate, and what happens at the exchange though is a shifting of costs. So we have 300,000 individuals who buy their own health care on the exchange. 8 out of 10 of them get help buying that care, that policy. 80%.
Where do they get help?
They get a tax break, a
By
credit,
from the government.
or a subsidy, right? And then billions of dollars are shifted over to the carriers in the exchange that are selling the policies to be able to keep prices low. So so what the ACA does for the market,
the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah, aside from the politics, is it gives the carriers, Blue Cross or any other carrier, AmeriHealth, a huge financial incentive to sell health care to people who couldn't otherwise afford it.
If it were to change dramatically listen, it's not going to change the way it was being described before, John, because that didn't pass.
Again, political maneuvering.
What do you mean?
I mean, the Department of Health and Human Services, as a matter of fact, soon is going to issue its stabilization plan for these exchanges. They can choose not to enforce the personal mandate, so that that could be done. That's not legislatively.
The mandate that says you must have health insurance.
Sure, and the reason why we have that mandate is so that younger, healthy people are required to have insurance to then spread the risk for folks in my generation.
So hold on one second. So a 30-year-old right now has to get health insurance. He or she, healthy, no serious health problems. You have to get health insurance.
And I say to that person,
that's the mandate.
And I say to that person, thank you, because that makes it affordable for my policy because I consume more health care than that 30%.
Federal government says, you know what, the heck with that mandate. What happens then?
That means that 30-year-old can now not buy insurance. And
that's a devil's advocate. That's his or her right. They want to roll the dice.
Well, it is.
Then what? What happens then to the market?
Well, that means that when I go to buy my policy, the aging baby boomer who has to buy his or her own policy, it becomes unaffordable. So
why?
Well,
because the pool is older and not as healthy?
Of course.
Wow.
Of course. This is the part of the ACA that is not political, it's market-driven. So everybody's probably properly distracted by this circus in Washington, D.C.
A circus in Washington, you say?
Yes, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that there's gambling going on in Rick's Cafe. But
Can
the real action,
references be far behind?
Yes. the real action is in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And that's all regulatory.
Do you think
that's all coming down now.
John, do you think the Trump administration gets?
Of course they do.
Then what would be the... What would be the positive outcome of that?
The Holy Grail, Steve. Selling across state lines. That's the administration. Again, I'm just saying, I'm just calling it for what it is.
That's your
calling
analysis.
It for what it is.
But hold on, many of the people, this is not a political show, it's a public policy show trying to make sense of things.
Of course.
But many of the people who voted for the president sound like the people who are going to get hurt by this.
Well, that is the topic for a class I teach that I'm not going to be able to get into on this show. But I will say that if you're distracted by the politics, then you often vote against your own self-interests.
Wow.
And that happens all the time. We've had that's not unprecedented.
Okay. So what should we do in New Jersey, since federal policy does impact what happens in this state, because those federal dollars.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so what can we do in New Jersey? There's going to be a new governor in January 2018.
Big time, big time. The
So what
new
happens?
governor, day one.
He or she does what?
He or she, day one, will have health care on one of the top 3 things that they're going to have to deal with. Perhaps within the first 100 days, we'll see. But by then, we'll have a clearer picture of what's happening nationally. And you're right, it's direct and immediate impact on what we're doing here. I would think that the candidates are conscious of this, and they are talking to some of the. I mean, one of the reasons why I'm optimistic, quite frankly, in New Jersey is that we have a lot of smart people here, a lot of people who are smarter than me, who you get them in a room, and you, at least when you're focused on the reality of it, I think we have options, and I'm confident that we will come up with a public policy solution. But you know, it requires focus and intense discussion right now, which is what we're doing.
Yeah, for employers who you know very well.
Wow.
What do you say to them right now? These are your people.
Oh my gosh. You know, the anxiety now is really pricing. What the ACA did, and what the governor did, Governor Christie, give him credit, was to expand Medicaid,
That's right.
Most of those people who are on Medicaid, expanded Medicaid, they're working people. They're working for an employer.
They just qualified because they weren't making enough.
You're correct.
Minute left, go ahead.
Correct. So, so what some small employers did is just let their employees go into expanded Medicaid.
Okay.
I call them free riders. You can call them what you will. It's employers who have a healthy, productive workers, but they're not paying for it because Medicaid is paying for it. Now that's a separate issue, okay, but it's a reality. But then you have those employers who stay in the game, employers who choose to provide a health care plan for an employee and their families. Wow. That's the group that has been going to the high deductible plan.
2 seconds left, go ahead.
High deductible plan. So I think for the employer is really, it's going to be a pricing issue. We got to keep that group in the pool.
John Sarno is president of the Employers Association of New Jersey. We just got a classroom of valuable information. We'll find about your class next time.
Yeah.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it, buddy.
Always a pleasure.
Good job.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Agnes Veris NJTV studio at 2 Gateway. Funding has been provided by Jersey Central Power and Light, Summit MD Anderson Cancer Center, Wells Fargo, the New Jersey Education Association, St. Peter's University, the law firm of Gibbons PC, and by the New Jersey Office of the Insurance Fraud Prosecutor.